All right. Good morning, everyone. Brad Roltgen here with the Fresno Bitcoin and cryptocurrency investors. We've been meeting for almost 5 years now. And the last couple of years with COVID, we've been doing the Zoom thing. We also meet just about once a week, or not once a week, once a month in person here in Fresno. But we're still going to keep these Zoom meetings going because we've been able to, have some members join from all over the country and a few out of the country once in a while. We do have this meeting and all other meetings recorded. If you go to fresnobitcoin.com, we have links to everything we've done and everything we're currently doing. Today, we're gonna just do a little update on NFTs and Metaverses. We talked about them, I don't know if it was March, April, earlier this year, but obviously that space is moving quickly. So just kind of an update. It's also kind of fun thing I thought would be a little more interesting to do here around the holidays type of thing. Obviously, the last couple weeks have been a little hectic and crazy with the whole FTX debacle and some of the other exchanges that have, kind of gone down or suffered consequences because of their relationship with FTX. So, if you want to talk about that a little bit, it kind of keeps driving the point home to me that we don't want to store our funds on centralized exchanges. We've talked about that numerous times, and if this doesn't prove that point, I don't know what will. I don't want to see anything more or worse damage in the space or in our individual accounts. So hopefully we're all keeping our funds in wallets where we control the private keys. Let me just start with a little overview where I come from on the NFTs and Metaverses, and then we'll let Chris share a bunch. And Scott, welcome. I see you joined us. I know you guys are doing a lot more in that space, but just a little 30,000 foot view. NFTs seem to got started with these fancy JPEGs that people were, paying $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 for, but it's kind of moved on. And there's actually utility to some of these NFTs. A good example that I don't know, I guess it was an example. I don't know if it's actually taken place, but an example of an NFT potentially could be if you buy a Rolex watch, you buy the watch from, the Rolex dealer in New York City, and with it, you get an NFT that shows the chain of ownership. So you can prove that watch went from the factory to the dealer in New York and then to you. So if you want to go sell it in 10 years, you can prove that, that chain of ownership, as opposed to just being something you bought, from a guy for $100 in Times Square, that he was selling out of his trench coat type of thing. So that was just kind of one example of NFTs that I thought would be useful to demonstrate the utility that might work for that, or maybe titles on houses, things like that, pink slips for cars. If we can get those on the blockchain and be able to show the ownership as far as that goes. Scott, I don't know if you got a chance to just check out the Google Doc, but Chris has already posted a bunch of links there. If you want to request access, I will approve that so you can, add to that. Chris, let me turn it over to you and give us a, further rundown on the details of, kind of where you started with NFTs and then what you're doing. With the collectible part of it, we talked, I know briefly, I think it was last month, about the collectible and the physical kind of working together, or the NFT and the physical working together in the collectible space. And then maybe transition a little bit to some of the utility that you're seeing the NFTs get involved with.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate the opportunity. First and foremost, this is just me. I'm not, soliciting or telling or even recommending, or this is not financial investment advice. I'm more or less a collector by nature. I've collected comic books since I was a kid, ever since my dad threw out my initial comic book collection, and I went on my own and continue to collect. NFTs, I've pretty much got in with the advent of the digital NFT comic books with Vivi. Now Palm DC is doing DC comic books, and I continue on. So most of my collection of NFTs are based on some of it is speculation. A lot of it might be speculation for the future, but it's also for my own personal collection part, because I have over 3,000 comic books, real world, and some of the comic books that are digital NFTs are some of the originals back in 1962, 63. So I decided to get into the NFT space because of the comic books, but then it's blossomed from there, because I do believe, like you said, it's going to be, we're only going to go in the direction of utility. Our mortgages, our car pink slips are going to be on the blockchain as the NFTs. So I did kind of open up some of mine so I can share with you guys what some of them look like. I don't want to take up all the time, but I just want to share with you guys some of mine. Let me go ahead and do it.
Oh yeah, let me stop sharing and you can go ahead and share your screen. That'd be great.
Okay. So if you look at the link on the paperwork, of course everyone has heard of OpenSea. I have NFTs that are out that everyone can see. And this is, if you look at something like this, this is, everyone is aware of this is a collection of very these are just ones that you can own on the blockchain. Then you can also actually hide them from people. So you go to your hidden, and I have multiple that are hidden on the OpenSea, and they're just various types of NFTs that I'll kind of share with you. I also have VV. If anyone knows what VV is, you can actually have a whole collection. And they actually have, if you go to the type of NFTs that they have Disney. You look at this one, this one's Disney, and then you can actually open it up into a 3D.
Oh, cool.
Where you can actually interact. And there is talk about utility with these NFTs from VV. There's some really good ones. There's there's a lot of Disney, a lot of Marvel, and there's a lot of comic books. If you look at the comics, there's collectibles, there's comics, there's artworks, and you can look at the various types. These are the brands right here. So if you want to look at what kind of brands they have, DC, Back to the Future, Battlestar, and you have just a whole. You guys probably recognize a lot of these types of brands. And that's what kind of got me into it, just the real brands. And I do believe that in the future, some of these are going to go, like Disney will use some of these to get into the parks, to get special things from Disney. In fact, there is discussion right now that Disney may be buying VV, which is not unheard of. And so that'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of this is speculation, but then we go back to, let me try to move this because there it goes. I'm trying to move that there. You also have, of course, like I told you, you have the comic book aspect of it. If I go back, you can actually go to the collection. And those are the collectibles that I have. And you can actually go to, these are the collectibles, and then these are the comics. You can actually go to see all comics. I have quite a few. But these are the types of comic books that you can actually open and read in the digital space, and they actually are on the blockchain. And each one of them are numbered, and they are common, uncommon, rare, ultra rare, and secret rare. But then you also have DC Palm NFTs where you have the same comic books. Like this one is 1930. The run was 1939 to 2001 or 11, and this is the #1 Superman, which is worth really millions in the real space. If you have that comic book, you're really kind of you're a really good collector. But I think that ultimately it might not be worth a lot now. It's worth about $1,000. But when my kids get older, it'll and the NFTs become more of a mass adopted. I think that these will be collector items as well. You have Recur is another one. They started to get into the real IP. You have Hello Kitty, Rugrats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You have movies and TV, and you also have college sports. And one example of the college sports is the NFTU, which is right here. You see this NFTU, and you can go there. You can actually, these are like segments of, you can actually watch them. They're NFTs that you can actually watch.
Oh, wow. Okay. And just to make sure everybody's up to speed. So you mentioned OpenSea, and that was basically the first large marketplace to buy and sell the NFTs.
Yes.
And so when you're in here, this is like your account where the ones that you own, you can go in there and see them and also list them for sale if you want, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's a marketplace. And so you can also do like I don't know if you guys collect Funkos at all, but there's a drop.io, DROPPP.io. And then these are all collections of the different, and so you can go to, if everyone recognizes, I don't know, Looney Tunes. And so whenever you go to, you can actually look at the whole collection, or actually if you own the collection, you can do something like this, and you actually can watch it. Wait, there you go.
Oh, wow.
And so you can also turn them over and look at the back, but it's real IP. And so these are actual NFTs. I personally collect these type of Todd McFarlane real world collectibles, and now they just, as of December 1st, you can actually they're going into the digital space as well. And because I bought some of the real world stuff, they actually gave me free access and gave me some of the free NFTs. There's also the marketplace of this, where it's called Atomic, what's it, atomic.com or Atomic Hub IO, where you actually can buy, again, along the lines of collectibles. And so this is a good example of many collectibles you can get on Atomic. If you're into the Hollywood scene, there's also the type where you can actually look at the type of, it's called My One, and you can go to the one of, and you can see what kind of stuff that they do in the music world. And these are also going to be utilities as well, where you can get free dinners with various rappers, or actually dinners at Lobsters, where you can go to, this is Lobster Perks, where you can actually buy these NFTs, and you can actually go to a concert, or you can, there's also sports, so there's different ones where you can actually go to and buy I think it's sports, lifestyle, and music. And so these are going to be real world utility as well. This is DC comic cards, just these are regular trading cards. It's called HRO, and I wanted to show you guys one thing where you can open a pack and see what it's like. I haven't done this yet.
Oh, wow.
And then you drop the card and you just look at the cards. So you list, basically you want to open and see what the cards are. And it tells you what they are. I had 2 to open. They gave them to me free. They dropped in my wallet. I didn't know that until this morning. You can actually look and see what they are. And then you can actually, and then look, I guess I already owned one of them. So now I have, let's see, so you close this. You can actually look at what you have in your, it's been a while since I've been in this one, but there are various trading cards. I used to collect these in the 90s. And then last but not least, there's a utility game. This is a Met game that they have right now. This is the World. And so you can actually, and this is connected to OpenSea and my wallet, where if you, and then I can go into this garage here, and it will actually show you what NFTs you have. And so you can come down here and actually look at all the different NFTs that you actually have to fight in this game. And then they're going to have real world prizes that you can get if you win. But so that's just an example. I just wanted to share some of the NFTs that I have. I'll stop sharing the screen, but I will also, let's see, hold on a second. Stop sharing.
Okay,
so
go
yeah,
ahead.
as far as utility, it really starts with collectors, right? It starts with the art, and starts with getting all that on the blockchain, just like art in general. And then I think what's happening is the real world, as it becomes mass adopted and mass used, NFTs will transform into things that we normally use on every day.
Yes, and you kind of talked about it the other way as far as tying the NFTs with the physical good, with the Funko ones, where you bought the physical good wherever, and part of that packaging or something, you got a specific NFT.
And I have those. I have those upstairs in my room, and they're part of the. If you collect the whole collection, you get a collectible, a real world gets sent to you. And I have about 10 of those, and those are very rare because it's only going to get to those ones that actually have collected the whole collection.
Right. Okay. And then you mentioned the other things about the concerts and things like that. So that's where you go to a site and it connects to your wallet and sees that you have X, Y, or Z NFT. And then because of that, you're allowed to view the concert or maybe buy tickets early for a physical concert. Or, I mean, there's countless ways they can do this, but by using the NFT literally like an identification, by connecting your wallet, you can get those perks. And I saw something, it was Coachella, where if you bought something, you literally got, lifetime access to the Coachella concerts,
right?
Kind of thing, which
I
mean, for some people that go to those, that's a huge value.
Right now with the DC Comics, if you have a Bat Cowl, which is a Batman kind of a thing, you actually get early access to the comic books that are dropped. So you can only buy one, but you still get before the public gets it. And so that's another utility where if you're interested in this thing, if you buy this NFT, you get early access to something rather than, and then of course, then the public gets it, but you get it first.
Right. No, I think that's an ideal way to do it because everybody wants to see that movie first or get first in line to tickets to the football game to get the better seats or whatever, kind of thing. So
that's why you should say the movie, because I've actually seen about 2 or 3 movies where when you go to the movie, you buy the ticket, you prove that you got the ticket, or you buy it on a certain platform, then you get an NFT to say that you've been there, and then that NFT is worth more because not very many people have it.
Right. Yeah. And just like the Funko ones where you had to buy it, the physical one to get it, and then you get the collect. Yeah, it's crazy how
and now there have been somewhere where you buy in, like Walmart has done this. You buy the physical one with that has a comic book in the back and the Funko in the front, or little Funkos, and then you get an NFT for buying it from. It goes the other way too. You get a special NFT for buying something at Walmart.
Yeah, they count. That's a countless marketing thing. You buy like this video game at Best Buy and you get this perk, but if you buy it at Target, you get a different perk.
Exactly.
And and some people will buy both of them because they want all the perks or whatever.
Especially collectors.
Okay. Yeah, and then they don't open half of them or something like that. So crazy. Okay,
Guilty.
Let's see. Scott, you want to jump in and kind of take us into the metaverse? It seems like you kind of are more on that side than the NFTs, but bring us up to speed since we last talked about that. Oh, is he? Hey, Scott, are you still with us? Just go ahead and unmute and jump in. Okay, maybe he's stepped away from the. Oh, there he is.
I'm here. Give me a second.
Okay.
Thank you. I was just in the store. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, nothing like being productive.
So I was a little bit distracted in the store, and now there's a bunch of sirens. Give me a second.
Okay.
Oh boy, we never get sirens.
I know. I was going to say, Post Falls, it shouldn't have that many sirens.
They don't even turn them on most of the time. They turn on the lights and they drive without the sirens.
Yeah.
So as not to bother us.
There you go.
Believe it or not. Okay, so you were wanting to know about NFTs in the metaverse. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about both, and Chris kind of brought us up to speed on some of the things that are going on with the NFTs, specifically in the collectibles. And I know you've kind of been exploring the metaverse side of it, maybe a little more. I don't know. Feel free to share either way.
I'm kind of more after things that have utility for some purpose or another, as opposed to strict collectibles. So I tend to get things that have a utility or a purpose. So you can, I'm in the car right now, heading back to the house, so I can't really share a screen or whatnot, but if you were to go to OpenSea, you could look me up as Soul Swami, and then you could see the NFTs that I have that are listed through ETH. And I go after things like access passes. So I have an access pass for Metaverse Miami, which is a perpetual pass. Every time they hold the event, I can attend for free. So I consider that useful if I ever get a chance to get to Miami. But that's something that you can actually rent out. So if you don't go, you can rent the NFT to produce access to the event.
Okay.
So that's one form of pass that has like a utility that you can kind of measure, right? Because you get to go to something, you get to go do something. The other kind of NFTs that I'm kind of into are things that represent control for something like gaming. So I have Clone Force and I have Resurgence, which are both game-based ecosystems where they're building out the NFTs that control your participation in the game, if that makes sense.
Right. Just like Chris showed the kind of in his garage, he had the different the players or yeah.
So when you start thinking about metaverse, what you want to think about is it's not a metaverse. There are literally countless metaverses.
Right.
Even so, I shared the Jadu on the Telegram group. And I don't know if you went and looked at that, but Jadu is trying to do XR or mixed reality type of work. So they're still calling it AR right now, but they're actually injecting virtual reality into your real world. So if you watched one of the blooms, then you would have seen the crash of a spaceship into your local area and the emergence of your avatar, your Ava.
Okay.
So I don't know if you went and did that at all. I saw a thumbs up or something like that you saw the link, but if you go like to their Twitter, and then there all tons of people have posted their own version of the landing of their Ava. And so what they're doing is they're slowly rolling out this metaverse that has your abilities to be involved, but also they're building flexibility so that you can take your Ava to other metaverses, so that you could use them in, say, in the Resurgence game or in Decentraland or some other place like that.
Wow.
Am I making sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think the best thing or at least one of the important things you said was that there's more than one metaverse. You know, people that, we keep hearing metaverse, and it's not just one place. I want people to understand that.
When someone says metaverse, what they're saying is digital world.
Right.
That's the translation, digital world. But how many digital worlds are there? It's kind of like, how many worlds are there? I mean, if you don't think that I live in a different world than you do, then you're probably not thinking about it in the same way, right? Because we all have our own like sphere that we're involved in. We have a work, we have a home, we have a family, and that's our world, our verse, our lives, our real verse, if you will. And then you can join that or escape that using a digital world. So AR is augmented reality, where they add things to your world. XR is where they mix virtual and real world together. And those hold really big promise in a lot of ways. And the technology behind the AR, XR type technology is really expanding right now rapidly, because the computing power to render it is becoming commonplace. The ability to use your phone as a driver for graphics that are imposed upon your real world view is coming faster than you might think. People, for everybody from Apple to Google to Amazon to everybody you can imagine that's big in the electronic space, is working on versions of smart glasses, basically, that allow you to impose artificial visuals and auditory onto your real world view. So you put on the glasses, and then there is the potential to, you know, see the Pokemon in your game in the world as you wander around and look at things.
Right, right. And I went to the link on the Telegram, and I found one in the Twitter feed where the character is skateboarding on the lake. It seemed to be an easy one to, you know, to
Yes,
view real quick.
and I don't think that you got to see the bloom from that one. I think that one was
Oh, did that happen before? Earlier?
yeah, well, you didn't see the crash land, right?
No.
Yeah, so if you were to go to Twitter and watch a bloom is a crash landing.
Okay.
And so in their I don't know, it's kind of hard. They have a lot of language and story that they're building in as they build. The team at Jadu is essentially like Hollywood people. They're
Okay.
people that are in you know, graphics designers for things like Transformers. You know, Michael Bay was the director for Transformers movies and whatnot, and his participation in Jadu is not just a token. He's really involved. So like my Avas are Michael Bay Avas. I have two now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think I found one here where there's a lantern on a patio, and then there's the bloom where the thing crashes and the hatch opens up. It looks like the guy's getting ready to get out. Yeah, this is pretty
Ava?
wild.
Yeah, you're not necessarily your Ava, but your Ava is like your partner. It's kind of like
Okay.
Metashimas. Like a Metashima is like a drone that follows you around in the metaverse. So if you're part of the Metashima world, then you have this spherical intelligence that goes around with you and interacts with you. And so all this stuff is really evolving and really new. And I don't know where it's all going, but I look at things like the gaming ecosystem and the amount of money that's being invested in that world, and it's much larger than movies, like order of magnitude larger than movies. The people invest in gaming will spend $50 where they won't spend $10 to watch a movie, because that $50 can lead them to 200 plus hours of interaction in a game with other people and doing things, and the movie's over in 2 hours.
Right, and that's it. So you mentioned all the metaverses. At some point, you know, there's got to be too many of them, and you know, there's 10 people in each one or something, where it'd be much more interesting to have, you know.
See, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like there's more like there's interoperability and the opportunity
Okay.
to be part of different worlds that have different purposes. Just like you could be part of World of Warcraft or Call of Duty or Medal of Honor, or I don't know what these other games are, all the games and whatnot. But in the gaming world, there's hundreds and hundreds of games, and people play them in an interactive way, and then change to another one. I'm tired of playing World of Warcraft. I'm going to go play Medal of Honor, right? And you're switching, but you're not switching to an empty world. You're switching to a place where people are choosing to be, because that's the kind of experience they want. So I think what you'll see is there will be empty worlds. There will be places where it's not that interesting for the casual user to come and be a part of. So they'll be less populated, and there'll be others that'll be busy, like Disneyland.
Right. And but like you mentioned, the interoperability. So maybe you take your Call of Duty character over to Medal of Honor type
Right.
of thing.
Or like Jadu, the Avas are designed to be interactive, and they continue to build out the resources for that so that you can use them in more and more places. So that allows you to bring your Ava to both World of Warcraft and Medal of Honor, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and
So,
obviously the ones that are more interoperable as far as the metaverses, they're probably going to be more popular because you can do more.
oh,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna grow and they're gonna shrink over time as things become more and less popular. So people, uh, play a game until they're done, until they quote win unquote. And when you talk about a metaverse is significantly larger than a gaming world. If you look at a gaming world like Elder Scrolls, they had problems having a large world until there was, uh, an opportunity to create larger computing space and a larger envelope of graphics processing. So when the first Elder Scrolls came out, they had this thing they called the fog of uncertainty or the fog of invisibility or something like this. And what it was they weren't able to render visualization at distance, so they created a fog. So a few hundred yards from you in that world, you couldn't see any further. And that was their way of reducing their graphics computing requirements. Now you get to Elder Scrolls 4 and 5, you're looking at, I can look all the way across the valley and I can see things on the other side of the valley, which are more than a mile away. This is not something that was possible in the gaming world 10 years ago. It just didn't exist because the computing power was unobtainable. So this is the kind of the evolution of the experience of how, gameplay, or the gamification they call it sometimes, of real world things. Like, imagine, you look at, I don't know if you know anything about Pokemon. I didn't do a lot with Pokemon, but Pokemon Go became very big in 2015, 2016 timeframe.
Yeah.
And people had to go physically. Pokemon Go was intended to make people get up and go and move, so that you got some exercise while you were playing your game. And what was your game? Your game was to go catch Pokemon and play the Pokemon game, which I never triggered on and played, although my younger daughter played. So this is a thing where they have battles between them and they do stuff to collect and to enhance their game assets. So that whole thing went on was not quite the same as being able to be immersed in it. You weren't able to put on a pair of glasses and look around and see them. It was more like your phone said they were there, and you played the interaction of that game because of that information that was fed to you. Well, at this point, it's becoming much more of a visual representation, and your
But,
ability to go out and see them and find them is here, basically.
and we so instead of looking through the phone, we're looking through the glasses like you talked about.
Yeah, and it's rendering in a more realistic way in concert with your real world. So this is where XR is coming fast. Mixed reality. And there are other really serious advantages to using things that this technology of metaverses and in these smart glasses and all of this is not just an NFT revolution. It's not just a crypto revolution. If you think about this, I can't work on the modern car. I used to work on cars, but modern cars have a lot of really strange things going on with them that are not so intuitive, right? Same kind of thing about maybe working on my heater in my house. But what if I was to put on my smart glasses and pay a fee to a company that has all the knowledge about the product that I want to work on, and their glasses essentially give me a walkthrough, like a YouTube walkthrough that's live on my product, where I look at my heater and it knows what my heater is based on what it looks like and what I've told it about it. And it tells me where the screws are to take off, tells me what size wrench to use, tells me what the adjustment needs to be to make it do what it's supposed to do that it's not.
Right. Or to
Then
look for this
don't
part
have
that to replace. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, then I don't have to be a really intelligent technician. I just have to be a follower of the instruction set, right? So there's a lot of opportunity for things to evolve and this technology to reach far into the real world. And that's the kind of thing that I think is real exciting, is our ability to mix all this stuff. And digital ownership, which is represented in a broad way by NFTs. I think, NFT is a term that isn't doing people a lot of good. It tends to be exclusive. Digital collectible is rising as a term, because there are things that are collectible, like these trading cards, like your earlier speaker was talking about. These kinds of things. NFT is a crypto term, and digital collectible is more of a world term, if that makes sense.
Right. And I think NFTs have been associated with these digital assets, collectibles, and they're much more than that. So that's why I always like to talk about the utility. And so we don't just, it's, people like, dismiss it because, I'm not a collector, I don't care about that stuff. But no, this other thing, to be able to track your registration, your pink slip, and all that kind of thing.
You go to a concert, right? You want to go see the Doobie Brothers in concert or something, right? And you go to see them, and then you keep the ticket stub and the t-shirt that you bought there, or the hat that you bought there, and you tell your friends about it, whatnot. Well, eventually the hat gets dirty, gets lost, the t-shirt gets holes in it from being worn and used too much, and it goes away. But if your ticket was an NFT, and the NFT was an indicator of your fandom, right? So ownership of, say, 6 concert NFTs gives me some perk from the band, because that indicates that I went to 6 different concerts of theirs, right? These are ways to reward fans and holders. And this is something I think that is growing, is it's the opportunity to take advantage of building your community around whatever the activity or whatever the thing is that you're building, whether it's a game or whether you're a band or whether you're a group that goes hiking in the woods. You build this group in a way that it can be rewarded and interacted with digitally. I think there's a lot of opportunity for that to grow. And so I try to find things that make sense, that are not just, I bought a monkey JPEG. That's awesome. It looks cool. Okay, what's it worth? Oh, it's worth $100,000. Oh my God, it's worth $100,000. I got to sell that because it's worth so much money, right? But if it was worth $100, but what it did was give me access to a group of people that I interact with and become friends with, then that $100 is not something I want to cash in because I lose access to the group or the digital world that you can become part of because you own it.
Right, because it becomes your membership, your key to your membership to get into that club.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And so when you go and start getting into NFTs, and you start looking at, well, what are these things? What do they do for me? Well, it's kind of, it's hard to explain what you get out of it until you start getting something out of it.
right, because it's really just a tool or a way to use and access the digital assets. Yeah,
it's a way to show membership in a community.
That part of it too. Right.
Yeah. That's not the only thing. Lots of other things that you can use an NFT for. For example, I own the ENS domain soulswami.eth. That's my nominalized access to my weird wallet addresses. Nobody wants to hear my wallet address on your thing here and can remember it or write down the 128 characters that go with it so that they can send me a $5 tip for giving them a great piece of advice, right?
Right.
But
right.
It's pretty easy to write down soulswami.eth and go, oh, well, that's like human readable. That's something I can understand, and I can see that I got the spelling right, and I can verify it, and then I can use that. So that's another example of how an NFT it gets a different kind of use. And I think that's what's not really clear about NFTs yet, is what are all the uses for them, right? I mean, some NFTs are turning out to be artificial intelligence. I don't know if you've seen any of this happening, but they're starting to have artificial intelligence that you have ownership of and you can interact with. And
wow.
I haven't bought into that one yet because I don't really understand how I would take advantage of it. But that's a growing movement as well.
Got it. Okay, I brought up your OpenSea profile page. Is there anything you want to direct us to, or that might be interesting to
Well, one thing
share?
I can tell you is I didn't buy all of this stuff. I see 4 new ones I've gotten in the last 12 hours that were dropped on me. And I don't know exactly what they're for, but they're probably scams. If you don't buy it and you didn't have any reason to know what it is and know that it's valid, don't touch it.
That's exactly
Hide
what I
it.
was going to say.
Yeah.
But you can see, I don't know how you're sorted. I'm sorted by recent collected objects. So
Let's see.
like the
Let me see.
5th one down is Rug Radio membership. I just bought a second one of those. I got one for my wife. Then there's an Ava there that I bought yesterday or the day before. And then there's a hoverboard, which is part of the Jadu world, that your Ava can ride the hoverboard and go across the water and other things that you can't do if you walk, because you can't walk on water. The DGen ones are just artworks. The Ric Flair drips is my first music NFT that holds royalty rights. So every time that musical score gets streamed somewhere, anywhere, I get a piece of the action. I thought that was kind of cool, so I bought into that. You go down a little farther, you start seeing Echo Stones and Guardians and Mint Stones and whatnot. Those are from Clone Force. Clone Force is a game ecosystem. So yeah, I don't know. I was just saying, you go and look, you can see I'm going down the rabbit hole. A little farther down, you'll see that Metaverse Miami pass. That pass is good perpetually. I will be able to get into Metaverse Miami in 5 years when it's much bigger, and it won't cost me a dime.
That's cool. I see some here that are listed as Great Grandpa's house, and there's a few different versions.
Oh yeah,
of
you're
those?
way down there. You're way down there. That's where I minted my own images.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so if you look at Sunsets, Soul Swami Collection, Grandpa's Rides, Grandpa's House, those things are all things that I minted. So that's my imagery from my family that I put on there to learn more about NFTs and how they're made.
Okay. And what are your intentions with those? I mean, other than just learning, is it like just to share with people, or?
At first, I did a presentation and I offered a free NFT to anyone who came to the meeting. And so I had to implement enough photos that people could pick one.
I see. Okay.
So that was one of the reasons. And I had done it because NFTs were booming at the time and I didn't know anything about them. And so I was like, well, how do you do this? Well, it turns out there are better ways to do it than OpenSea, but that doesn't mean that, it's not a valid place to go. OpenSea is the largest marketplace. I tend to use aggregators now. I don't tend to use directly a centralized exchange like OpenSea. I use Blur lately, and Gem is another one that's good.
And so those are working with multiple exchanges.
Yeah, they're aggregators. And so they collect the information. If you go to blur.io, you'll be able to connect a wallet, and then you'll be able to look around at different NFT projects, and you'll be able to see all of the listings across multiple centralized exchanges. So OpenSea and Super Rare and Looks Rare and others would all be included because they're going on chain and searching down the opportunities.
Got it.
That's
got
a
it.
so something like Blur will let you sweep a floor. If let's just say you want to go and you want to buy some Super Yetis, and you have maybe an ETH and a half that you want to spend on Super Yetis. Well, Super Yetis are pretty cheap, and so I think you can get one for about 0.07. So that would be a lot of Super Yetis. That'd be like 20 Super Yetis that you could buy. Well, if you go to Blur and you look at the lower part of the screen, there's a floor sweep. And you grab that slider and you start moving it. It just picks the lowest priced
Oh, okay.
NFTs in that project all at one time. Okay. And so as you draw that over, it tells you at the bottom on to the left of that slider, how much money you're in for to buy those. Well, it will ball all of those up and buy all of those faster than you can buy one on OpenSea.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is, yeah, makes that much more user friendly than trying to go buy them all individually.
It's a trader's platform, really. So it does give you some indications. If you go to the collections part, it'll show you movement in the collections. So you can see total volume. You can see increase in price in the last day, increase in price in the last 7 days, things like this. Okay. So it's giving you an opportunity to identify trends and trade, right? It's really a trading platform.
Okay.
So that's one way to use it. Now I have another platform that if you look around in my OpenSea, you'll see that I have the DGens Access Pass and the Flips Finance Gold Pass. So the DGens Access Pass gives me access to reports that are written about NFT projects, and they do about 5 reports a week or something like that. I think there's over 300 reports now. So if you wanted to go look up Wrecked Guy, they would give you a rundown on what the project is, who made it, how long it's been around, what the potential for the future is for it and whatnot. And then you could decide to invest in it or not. And then if you went to Flips Finance will give you trending information, sales information. It allows you to put watches on things, and it does live information, kind of like Blur. Blur came out after Flips, but Flips is the first one that I found that would tell you, hey, 2 seconds ago, Brad just bought Super Yeti Land Quarry number, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's live information.
Yeah.
So as it happens, it hits the chain, it shows you, hey, this just happened. And now Blur has that up on the right-hand side when you're looking at the main screen. So you can see the transactions roll through, whether they're an offer to sell or whether they're a buy, you can see them happening. So it gives you kind of a real-time view of activity. And so in a fast-moving market, it would be the right thing to try to benefit from the upswing in the market. You can see that the price is going up, you can see that there's interest, and you can say, oh, I'm gonna buy some of these. Let me get on the sweeper and go sweep the floor for 5 or 6 of these, and then wait for a little while and put them back on the market at a higher price.
Got it. Okay. All right, let's take a pause for a second and then open up for questions. We've kind of covered a lot, and I'm sure we've got some questions or comments. We've got a variety of folks. Anybody want to jump in with a question, or if you're looking to get started or looking for the next marketplace to use, or if you're looking for a certain marketplace for the chain or coin that you like, there's all that plays into it. Let's see.
Hey, Brad, I have a question.
Okay.
More of a thought, actually. The big thing right now, especially in the crypto world, is not your keys, not your not your crypto. So the other thought I had, especially with these centralized, and I'll use the example of Vivi or even Palm, they have them on their centralized exchange. And I just had this thought: if the NFT is not in your wallet, it's not your NFT, or is it? That's the question. So if you don't have it in your Coinbase wallet, or if you don't have it in your MetaVask wallet, if you don't have it in your Trezor, or like, for example, I have on the NFTs that I had on crypto.com. Well, I moved them to a DeFi wallet, which I actually hold the keys to.
Right.
They were on the exchange whenever there's rumors that crypto.com was on shaky ground because they own so much, they might go under as well in this
Right.
whole, as far as these exchanges going down, can the NFTs go down too? So you might own a lot of NFTs, but if you don't own the keys, if you don't have them on your own wallet, well, you can lose your NFTs as well.
So technically, the way that it works is you are on a smart contract. So let's just use an example. You're on a smart contract on ETH for, I don't know, Super Yeti, and you have a wallet, and your assets, while they're stored on chain, are controlled by your wallet. What you do with the exchange is you authorize the exchange to work on that blockchain on your behalf. So you're not moving the asset onto the centralized exchange or onto the decentralized exchange. You are authorizing them to make transactions for you for that asset. So that in
Yes.
that way, the exchange can move the asset out of your wallet.
Right. When you talk about a marketplace, yes, like OpenSea, 100%. But I'm talking about these new ones, like I don't know if you're familiar with VV, where it's on the Immutable X, but it is on it's not even their exchange. They control it. You own it, but they control it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with VV. I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with how they operate. But generally, NFTs are built in through smart contract. They're minted through a smart contract,
Yes.
and then ownership is managed and controlled through that smart contract. So the interaction that occurs is, I don't.
You're probably right, because I do have an
wallets don't
address.
hold you wallets don't hold your dollars. Okay,
Right,
so
right.
you got a wallet, you got an ETH wallet, and it says that you have 10 ETH. You don't have 10 ETH in your wallet. You have the key to control the 10 ETH on the blockchain in your
Correct.
wallet.
Yes.
So
same thing with Trezor, same thing with, yeah, exactly.
but that means that the asset is not, it's not held by you. It's held by the contract in your name.
On the blockchain, yes.
Yeah. So when you're talking about that, it's who controls that contract that controls your access to it.
Right.
So if VV is controlling the contract, then they technically own it because they own the contract, right? And they have the ability to manipulate the contract.
Right.
Now, you will find that some projects purposely renounce keys to the contract and let the contract run without their own control, because the risk of having controls and being able to steal everything by being in control is there. And so one of the ways that they manage that is to say, okay, well, we've burned the keys, so we can no longer change the contract. So whatever happens in the contract is whatever happens in the contract.
Right.
So if you want to hold your NFTs and you want to have them long term, it's probably in your best interests to go and collect the metadata related to them, so that while you have ownership, you can recreate the metadata of the NFTs for yourself. And there are tools for that.
Right.
I don't have it right here in front of me. I'm not at home yet, but there's a tool that is available that will go out and it checks to make sure that you're the owner, and then it goes and it collects all the related metadata for your NFT and creates a file with that information. So if that metadata ever got lost, so like your metadata is stored somewhere out in the internet, and if you are decentrally stored, then you're on Filecoin, or you're on IPFS, or you're on ICP, or something like this, where you have a decentralized system of data storage. But not all contracts and not all NFTs are run that way. Some of them are run through an AWS instance. So if that Amazon instance is ever taken down, then access to the metadata that represents the NFT disappears. And so if you are getting involved in NFTs and you have concern over their availability in the future, it's in your best interest to collect that metadata such that you can reanimate the NFTs that you own.
Right, right.
But getting back to the wallets and the exchanges, so like let's just use OpenSea because it's a a big one. So when you kind of log in or create your account with your Ethereum wallet, and so they have control and can sell your NFT assets. But at some point you could also take that control away by like logging out or delisting them. Is that
Yeah, the
just
easiest way is to go to revoke.cash and revoke permissions from your wallet. That's the easiest way. Remember that what it is they're just acting on behalf of your wallet. You're essentially giving them permission to use your private key
right?
for that asset.
Right. But if all of a sudden you're like, hey, I don't want to do anything for 6 months and you wanted to revoke that, OpenSea doesn't have just a quick like log out type of function.
So OpenSea is essentially an amalgamation of smart contracts. That's all it is. It's not a holder. It doesn't hold your asset. It holds a key. It holds your permission to the asset.
Right. And so I'm talking about just taking that permission away.
So you take that permission away through an Etherscan work. You can do it at Etherscan, or you can do it through something like revoke.cash. So essentially what happens is you go on chain in the Ether to say this other party has the right to do, and then you can take that away. And revoke.cash is the easy way. That's what everybody does.
Okay. I mean, shouldn't OpenSea have that kind of function?
Well, I suspect that there's a way to delist it using an on-chain asset and revoking it. However, what people say is if your assets are at threat, the most efficient and fastest way to protect yourself is to go to revoke.cash and revoke all permissions external to your wallet. That essentially delists everything.
Everything. Yeah. And then you can go back and add the ones that you want. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose at revoke.cash. You don't have to, you don't have to revoke everything, but there is a way to revoke everything super quick. So, if your $100,000 JPEGs are starting to disappear out of your wallet, you're not going to want to go to OpenSea and start going, oh, I want to rescind this. Oh, I want to do this.
Right.
No, you're going to want to go to revoke.cash and say, cancel all, so that they're not moving.
Exactly. Looks like Letitia had a comment here on in the chat. Letitia, tell us a little more about this coming to Florida for Art Basel. Tell us more about that. Can you unmute and share about? I know Miami's kind of becoming the crypto place. Let's see, are you still there, Letitia? Okay, it looks like Simon found I did post links to a couple of Telegram groups. There you go. We got you now. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was busy listening and working at the same time. But I don't know. What was your question? Or
well, you had posted it, is anyone coming to Florida for Art Basel? And I don't know anything about that. So please share with us.
Don't. Wow, that's a big NFT, art, crypto, Bitcoin. Yeah, event. People from all over the world, art collectors. They have this every year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm learning about it.
So this was in concert with Metaverse Miami, which just ended, and Art Basel lasts longer. There's also an Art Basel in France, in Paris, next week, I think.
Okay, and I think Hong Kong too. But yeah, it's pretty big here. It's a lot of people, and yeah, you just get people from all over the world. Art collectors, good place to show your NFTs, or they have events for crypto, Bitcoins, a lot of stuff, Metaverse. So yeah, a lot of interaction.
Okay, and how do you share your NFTs in person?
I have no idea. I have not gone, but I know that they have like, speakers and people, I'll do Uber sometimes, and I picked up people from Germany, London, all kinds of different places coming out here to speak. There you go, Art Basel, Miami.
Okay. Okay.
They
No, that's
they
awesome.
are they are shared by organizations. You have to be part of, so you have to agree to share it or to display it. That's how it works.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I actually know a lot about Art Basel because I'm from Basel. Basel is in Switzerland, and I'm from Switzerland. And Art Basel is the biggest art fair in the world, and they have an outpost in Miami, and that's currently going on, and it's finishing today actually. And the way that it works is that art galleries and art, usually it's art galleries, will work with artists, and they will publish their artworks at Art Basel, and people can buy and sell at Art Basel at the art fair. And I think that, with NFTs becoming a big hype and really taking off, Art Basel is really making a big stride towards that as well, which is why I think Letitia was bringing that up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it started as a just a traditional offline non-crypto event about art,
Yeah,
and they're adding the crypto and the digital aspect.
Oh,
exactly.
yes.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. Cool. Very good. Hey, that great connection back to the original one there. Cool.
Yes,
Okay.
if you're ever out here, because I live in Hollywood, Florida. I'm in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, but yeah, hit me up and I can show you around or tell you where to go, where not to go. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, I added that link to the Google Doc, and I'll put it in chat here. Oops, somebody else was jumping in there. Go ahead. Yeah, that's very cool. Okay. Any other questions on what we've talked about? Or we talked about a lot of, there's got to be, how do you do this? Where do you get started? That kind of thing. Anything like that we can answer or try to answer? Let's see. Oh, good. Hey, Frank, good to see you on. I didn't see you jump in here before. Let's see. Oh, there's Michael. I saw Mike's been on for a while. How are you doing, Mike? Oh, hey, Michael. Oh, got Michael and Mike. So go ahead, Michael. I see you're unmuted. You might have to go back to the recording. We've kind of covered quite a bit on this crypto stuff. I know you haven't really got started too much with that. Any questions we can answer? I guess not. Okay.
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
I
Brett.
was, Michael. Yeah. I saw you just joined in, and I know you have, I don't think you've done a whole lot with NFTs yet. Anything you're looking, or are you looking to get started or looking for the way to get started?
Yeah, I would like to get started, but they just seem so complicated. I can't, I have decades of stock experience, and I have 5-6 years experience with cryptocurrencies, but NFTs kind of baffle me, to be perfectly honest. I don't know exactly how to put a value on them. Earlier this year, some guy paid $64 million for a group of them. And then a friend of mine's son made 30 grand on them. And I don't know which one to buy, which one to sell. I don't know which one. So I'll take whatever information. I'm going to go back and read this whole thing. I've been busy working this morning. And so,
okay.
But I'm really baffled by these. So I am going to go back and watch the whole video. So I'll just listen.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Maybe, Chris and Scott, maybe give us give Scott a, 1 or 2 sentence or 3 sentence explanation on where to get started, or what you guys would recommend as far as that goes.
Well, I think this is Chris. I think it's just a matter of personal preference and what you're in it for. Like, I'm in it for collecting. I'm a collector. I'm not in it for money. And that's an ongoing discussion, even on all the Facebook, and I'm on the VV Facebook, and you have collectors versus you have people who are just trying to flippers. So you have flippers and collectors, right? So it really, it's on the individual. And I would just, rather than buying anything, get involved and see what's going on and see what people are doing, and then see how you can, if that's your preference, to flip and be able to make money. I think it's one of the things where you just have to get your feet wet, look at, don't buy anything, but just get involved and see what's going on. Join the various NFTs. You just Google, or not even Google, go to Facebook if you're on Facebook, search for NFTs, see what's out there, look for utility, look how it can benefit you and what you're involved in or what you're interested in. And then, because it's gonna mass adopt no matter what. It's just a matter of where it does and what, and the utility is probably going to be the biggest thing. And so if you're interested in going to concerts, pay attention to when you're looking at David Matthews Band, if you can buy a specific NFT to get you into X number of concerts, or in the future, or the whole thing about going to the boardwalk and buying a cup and getting a free drink every time you go. Think of that like NFTs. That's where the utility is going to be.
Utility, right? Right.
So, but if you're interested in collecting, if you're interested in Funkos, if you're a collector of Funkos, and you say, okay, what's all this digital Funko stuff about? Just look. You don't need to buy. Just look and pay attention, because it's just going to go. It's going to become mass adopted from here. And it's just a matter of we're kind of in the 1990, 1991, 1992, where you have multiple. What's this internet? Everyone's seen that meme where what's it? What's the @ symbol? What is that? Well, right now people are like, what's the NFT? What is that? We're right there. So it's just a matter of paying attention, what's going on around you, and see, where you want to put your money. Even if you want to put your money, you might not even want to put your money. You hear people making lots of money, but that don't expect that to be you. We'd like it to be, but if it happens, it happens.
Yeah. Chris, could you share a link to that Facebook group that you referenced? I know, Facebook is huge enough that we could go there and get lost for 3 hours.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing. Maybe if you put it in chat, or better yet, in the Google Doc.
Yep.
Would be great. Here, Facebook group.
Brad, if I could mention something, and Chris, you may have already experienced this, but I use Twitter a lot, and I've been to a lot of spaces on Twitter and listened to a lot of the people, like the head people from the Gorilla Guys, or just the different people on there. So I've listened to a lot of different things about it, but it's still hard for me to wrap my brain around. I will say that the utility has not been something that I've necessarily focused on. And so thank you for that, Chris, because that will give me something to kind of look at. I'm more of an investor than a collector. And I remember 91, 92. I got my first email in 92. And so, and then in the 99, 2000, I was in the stocks in the early, like Yahoo and InfoSeek and Lycos and Alta Vista. There was so many different, they were all portals. And so only one of that anybody even here even knows about anymore. And that would be Yahoo. And even now they've been gobbled up by Microsoft, and, but anyhow, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. But check out the spaces on Twitter. They regularly have really great talks and really interesting people on there. So
absolutely, that's just one. Yeah, don't rely, and believe me, get this, and this is 100%. There are 9 people on those social networks that are really wanting to learn, but there's always like 11 that are going to try to spam you or try to contact you with a spam. If you're contacted, don't buy into it. Just ignore them, delete them, ignore them, whatever. But there are so many people out there right now that are trying to benefit from this, this FOMO, even in the NFT realm, that are trying to, push you a really good deal. It's no different than the real world. People just want to make money. And if you're contacted through social media, ignore it. If you don't know the person, don't ignore it, because I've been contacted so much, it's crazy. And sometimes Facebook, even these groups, crypto community, BV collectible community, inside crypto community, anytime you post, they're looking for you, because It's like a game, and you have to be careful. And the NFTs are no different.
Yeah, good
Let
point.
me
Good point.
chime in here for a second and
Yeah,
just say
please.
that I have a different philosophy about investing or buying. And what I would say is,
Oh, you got muted there, Scott.
sorry. I was saying that if you don't buy anything and you're not involved at all, you will lose interest and you will stop watching. One of the ways that I got into crypto was to go buy $10 worth of Bitcoin. So I would see if my $10 was worth $10.10 or $9.90. It just helped me get connected. As far as Twitter, Twitter is the place for NFTs and for crypto. If you want real good alpha, if you're really interested in NFTs, I would recommend that you look at Rug Radio and you listen to their GM Web3 show. It's on Monday through Friday at 7:30 in the morning Pacific time. Runs for about 90 minutes. The people that are running that show are well connected in that world, and they're not scammers. They're not trying to sell their bag. They're not. They're trying to enhance the space and bring more people in. And they are some of the best Twitter spaces that you'll find will be on Rug Radio. So if you don't know anything about them and you want to learn, there's a place where you can learn. And what I was hearing about not responding to DMs or personal messages is 100% correct. If you don't know them, just consider them to be the people that you don't want to talk to, because they're the people that you don't want to talk to. And you don't follow links, and you don't click on stuff that's handed to you, and you don't interact with NFTs that are given to you for people that you don't know. These are just things you don't do. But that being said, whether you're a collector or an investor, or whether you're interested in gaming or metaverses or any of that kind of stuff, think about what you're interested in and go and find out what's going on in that world. And once you start feeling like you have an interest in something, then don't be afraid to get involved. Just don't, we're not betting the store here. I mean, when I bought Clone Force, I think I spent $40. It wasn't like I went and spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get invested. Now I'm currently investing more because I have more confidence, more knowledge, more background, more history. So I want more pieces of the pie. But I do both speculate and buy art. If you are speculating on art, I suggest that you like the art because that might be all you get out of the deal. But that being said, there are some tremendous opportunities coming, kind of like we're talking about, the 90s and the rise of the internet. Yeah, Netscape's gone. But while Netscape was around, people did well, used it, had fun with it, made money with it. There are all different ways. It's all about timing, and your investment horizon matters. And the things that you're investing in matter. If you're looking at NFTs, I tell you right now, 95% of them are going to zero. So you got a 1 in 20 shot of getting something that will do well. And that's really only if you do some homework. Tools like Flips Finance or Blur help you identify movers, but they don't say anything about long-term. Community says everything about long-term. If you look at Cultivate, Cultivate is kind of just getting started and doing their thing. They've released their first set of stuff. It's really interesting, but whether or not they're actually successful is the question. And so when you listen to the people in that ecosystem, if you believe in what they say and you feel confident in what they do, then investing $100 in their thing is investing $100 and taking a chance, just like going out and buying some stock in some company that is not GE, is not IBM. They're not known performers, but that doesn't mean that you can't do well. If I invest $100 in IBM and I invest $100 in Joe Blow's new replacement for IBM, my upside in IBM is limited to a relatively small because of their market share. But the Joe Blow that comes to disrupt them, if he does well, I got a lot bigger upside for my $100. So I'm not investing in the biggest ecosystems. I'm trying to go earlier. The earlier I can get in, the more there is a potential for upside. If you look at something like ETH. ETH went all the way down to around, almost $1,000. It was at 1,200 for quite a while. It's not much different from that now, but the up and the down, getting in at the bottom is where you have the most gain. If you wait until it's $2,000 or $2,400, then it doesn't gain as much for the amount that you invest.
But that
So,
theory, just a quick, that works with crypto as well. I know it works with NFTs, but the flip side of that's true too. You have a greater chance of losing it. So it's just a gamble, right? So that's what you're saying.
Of course, it's speculative. It's all speculative. However, if you enjoy the Clone Force game and you play the Clone Force game and you end up investing $500, $1,000 in playing the game, and you interact with a bunch of people in Clone Force, and you spend a few hundred hours there, you did get something for your money. And when you're done, if you don't want to be a part of it anymore, if those assets went up in value, then they were a investment. If they didn't go up in value, you still got a return from the value of the time that you spent and the people that you met. So it's not all about, I'm just going to buy this and I'm going to stick it in the drawer and I'm going to look back in a year and I'm going to be rich, right? That's not going to happen. I mean, for most people, but there are other things to be had in this environment. And that's the quote utility or the use or the access that you're gaining by owning. And so learning about what those ecosystems are and the kinds of people that are in them, and then choosing the ones that you want to be a part of, that is something that makes more sense to me. Like, I didn't get involved in Resurgence until I started seeing it and seeing people in it. And then I was like, oh crap, I'm late. I'm missing the boat. So I went out and got some. And so mine isn't in profit at this point, but I see the long-term potential for the game to evolve. And I'm interested in the game as well as the potential profit being had from the NFTs that I own that are part of it. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously you got to be involved in something you're interested in as opposed to just, shooting that, darts at the wall kind of thing. So that's a good way to narrow it down.
I'm not buying Japanese stock. I don't know what the Japanese companies do,
Right.
I'm not getting there. But in the US, I recognize a name and I know that it's a quality name, then I'm going to have more confidence to invest in them. So paying attention to the market and the players in the market is how you make good decisions. And understanding who the players are is another really key part, especially in the NFT world. So I would say, if you're going to get involved in that, do what you can to spend as much time as you can reasonably being a part of the different communities and learning what these different communities are about and what they're trying to accomplish, and see if that aligns with what you have interest in. And if those things align, then that's a place where it makes sense to be a part of it. And being a part of it is buying in.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Again, Chris and Swami, or what is?
Yes, Scott.
Okay, here's where I understand and respect both what you and Chris have had to say, and I do agree with it. Understand the community, but it's interesting. My wife asked me last night how many cryptocurrencies there are, and I said, well, at last count there was, I don't know, 10,000 plus. I go, but I'm only invested in two, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm only interested in Ethereum at this point in time because I'm beginning to day trade it. Well, just a single Ethereum. But my point is that there are so many cryptocurrencies, there are so many NFTs. And I understand the concept of looking at one that you find interesting and that you delve into the community and you learn about that. But Adam, there's got to be more than 10,000 NFTs now, right? Anybody have a rough idea?
Nope, about 40 million.
40 million. Okay. So I don't know about you, but even if I was to look at 1% of that, that's 40,000 NFTs. And all I'm looking at, would like to be looking at, is 2 or 3. So how do I narrow that down a little bit? 21,000 cryptos. Okay. So that's my point, is that, last time I looked, that I bothered to look, it was 10. So now it's 21. So now there's 40 million NFTs. It just seems to me like your chances of hitting something that's going to be in the green are extremely low. I think you said basically 1 in 20, 5% maybe. And so we really should be kind of looking at this as as I buy it because I like it. I want to have it on my screen.
That is what I was saying, was you better like the art.
Yeah. I get that, and I see that. It's just, this is why I've shied away from it, because it's just there's so much to look at. And if I'm just interested in buying art, that's one thing. But if
Well,
I'm
there's another side to that, though. There's another side to that, and that's the blue chips. And so if you're talking about blue chips, then what you're talking about is things like Bored Ape Yacht Club. A lot of people have heard about them. You're talking about doodles. You're talking about squiggles. You're talking about
the
crypto
ape guys.
punks.
What about the ape guys?
Bored apes. That was the first one I said. Bored ape.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
But those ones have very high cost to buy in, right? And there are others that are not as high cost, but are also considered to be blue chip. And you don't find out what those are by going to a website and reading for 10 minutes and going, oh, here's a list of the blue chips that I can invest in. You have to understand where they're going and what their purpose is, who their developers are. Some of the safer bets are some of the larger groups like Larva Labs and Yuga Labs and these guys who have the IP and have the successful projects already. But at the same time, just like stocks are cyclical, NFTs are also cyclical. So while Bored Apes and CryptoPunks are down in the, 60 to 70 ETH range for pricing right now, they're well over 100 in the more active market, and the market is extremely depressed right now. So there's plenty of opportunity if you want to be a bigger player and you have a risk tolerance to go and spend 60 ETH for a floor CryptoPunk and wait for it to go up. There are people that you can learn from that do this all the time. There's a guy that's around, I think his name is Franklin, and his tag on his Twitter is like Franklin has 59 apes. And Franklin buys on the floor and sells just above the floor, and he does it all day. He's nothing special. He's just a trader, and he doesn't hold them because he thinks that they're pretty. He holds them as a financial tool, right? These are things that you can learn from being involved in crypto Twitter, from being involved in NFT spaces, and listening and learning and taking notes. You can become knowledgeable about who's real movers and shakers in the industry and who's not. And that helps you decide when new projects come out, how to pick them. Because you don't just decide to go buy a Bored Ape for 100 grand. At least I don't. I go after things that are smaller. I go after things that make sense on a budget that I can deal with, but I look for people that are part of markets that have that kind of blue chip behavior or history. And you can play that, okay? But you can't, it just like stocks, you can't play that by just showing up today and saying, hey, I'm going to go invest 100 grand today. That doesn't work. Or at least it doesn't work in a consistent way that you'd want to trust 100 grand against. Make sense?
It does. I appreciate the insight. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, just like everything, there's no shortcuts. At least not ones that work long term. Okay, Great. Any questions anybody else has before we kind of wrap it up here? Let's see. Okay. Again, check out the Google Doc there, and we'll have links. I've added some recently. I think Chris has added a couple more. Hopefully we get that Facebook group or a number of Facebook groups. I'm sure there's more than one. And I posted quite a few for Twitter, including some on Rug Radio. Go ahead, Chris.
So, hey, Brad, I did go on and I looked, and there's just too many. So what I would suggest that everyone do is just go to Facebook or go to Twitter or go to whatever social media you do. Type in search bar the NFT, and they will pop up. There are hundreds, and there's different types of NFTs. So if you want digital Funkos, there's a digital Funko NFT group. If you want whatever you're into, there will be one.
Okay.
There's generic, and then there's individual types. Like if you're into, whatever, a specific movie, or there's just a whole bunch of different ones. So other than just copying a link to the search, I think that there's just hundreds.
Yeah. So maybe just to give people one place to go to just start looking. I mean, would it make sense to go to OpenSea just to see all the different NFTs there? Or I'm trying to, narrow it down to one place as a starting spot for folks to.
Well, some of the links I've
The
already
problem with
provided.
OpenSea, the problem with OpenSea is that it's the largest marketplace, and there's millions and millions of projects there, and that doesn't give you any insight into who's really a player and who's just looking to make a fast buck. This is part of why I mentioned Rug Radio, because the Rug Radio guys are about the space and not about individual projects. So if you want to learn about projects that are legit in the eyes of people that are knowledgeable in the NFT space, then that is a great place to learn about those projects and to hear people who have standing and cred in the community that talk about projects that are up and coming. It's a place where you can get real information that is not a rug. And that doesn't mean that everything that they're going to talk about isn't a rug, but they're very open about what they see and what the red flags are. And they talk about markets. They talk about traditional and crypto markets and the NFT market every weekday. So it's a place to go and listen for a little bit in your ear. I do it at work. While I'm at work, I just put it in my ear and I listen to what they have to say so that I can stay attuned to the markets, particularly for NFTs. So if you have a lot of interest in NFTs, it's a great place to start. It doesn't mean that it's all encompassing. It doesn't mean that it's going to solve every problem or lead you to the one that you really are most interested in, but it is a place that's pretty safe to hear what people are saying and to kind of trust that the people who are interviewing and talking with them are not bad actors.
Got
So
it.
I highly recommend them.
Okay. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Our next meeting will be January, either the 7th or the 14th. I'm trying to see how the schedule breaks down. Generally we're, the first first Saturday or second Saturday of the month. And then about the third Sunday of the month, we get together in person. We're skipping the in-person just because it's so close to Christmas, here in December, but we'll resume back in January on that. So hope to see you guys in the future. Have a great holiday season, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Brad.